try and tell him that his marriage is going to end terribly.
Oh, her name is Mary, isn't it? And she's going to have warts, and she's going to get fat, which God forbid a woman put on weight.
Tell him about the warts. How many warts?
Expansive.
Hello and welcome to Steam Powered Movies. I am Mike, one of your hosts, and I'm here with my co-host, with Dana.
Hello, my name is Dana Fraedrich. I'm a steampunk and fantasy author. I'm a podcaster. I'm an educator. I am a vendor of many fine goods and books. And also, I submit that drinks with cherries are superior to drinks without. You may fight me.
I will not fight you.
That's true.
Okay. That is your extra fun fact.
Yeah.
For this podcast.
Yeah.
And we like that.
Discuss.
This podcast, which is, again, Steam Powered Movies, where we watch a steampunk movie and then we talk about it. So this time we watched Sherlock Holmes, circa 2009, directed by Guy Ritchie, starring Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. And now we're going to talk about it. But first, just a couple quick announcements. At the end of this month, Labor Day weekend, Dana's going to be at Big River Steampunk Festival in Hannibal, Missouri. That's Labor Day weekend, August to September turnaround time. So check that out. If you're going to be anywhere near Hannibal, Missouri, go say hi, have a good steampunk festival time, and that would be great. Also, we have Discord. Join the Discord if you want to talk to us. You want to suggest a movie for us to watch. We'll give you credit for it. Come join the Discord. The link to that is in the description of this podcast. So, Dana, what were your initial impressions and thoughts of Sherlock Holmes?
Okay, first I'm going to take us back to the announcements really quick.
Okay.
Because just so people know, the Big River Steampunk Festival is a free festival, open to the public. Just show up. You don't got to pay any money. It's all good.
That's great.
Yeah.
We like free.
Yeah. So just so people know, like, it's free and parking is free. It's great. So come out. It'll be a good time. And also, Hannibal is the birthplace of Mark Twain. So there we are.
Yeah, a lot of writing history there.
Yeah.
Speaking of writing.
All right. Oh, okay. So first things first, I have to say, this is a first for the podcast, Mike.
What's that?
I don't even think you thought about this.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
This first time ever for this podcast, you have read the books.
Oh.
And I have not.
Oh, you're right.
I know. So this time, I'm going to be coming to you and saying, how do these match up?
Okay.
To the books.
Okay, I will do my best.
Uh-huh.
I must admit, it's been a while since I've actually read them.
Uh-huh.
So my memory might be a little fuzzy and tainted by other Sherlock Holmes properties that I have experienced since then. But I will do my best.
Okay.
But I am a big, huge fan of the Sherlock Holmes stories. I own, I think, the whole entire collection.
I think I got you the collection at one point as a gift.
I've read like 98% of all the Sherlock Holmes stories. I think there's a couple that I haven't got to yet that are in like the newer section of the total collection. But yeah, big
when you
fan.
say the newer section of the total collection, what does that mean?
I think there were like some later like previously unpublished stories that got added to the like complete collection.
Well,
of
I know
stories.
that Arthur Conan Doyle, he tried to kill Sherlock. Like that was the whole, what was it, fall of Reichstag? Reich Falls?
The Reichenbach Falls.
Reichenbach Falls. Okay.
This is what I'm here for.
Yes. See, exactly. This is why I introduced this early. So yeah, this is where he tried to kill Sherlock, and people were so upset about it. They wore like black armbands, and he was finally pressured into bringing him back, which I love.
Yeah, it was basically, the Marvel franchise for back then. People were really into it. The fans had thoughts and feelings and input. Yeah.
People were obsessed. I love it.
It was a big deal.
It was a fandom before there were fandoms.
Yeah, you're right. No, huge fandom.
I love it.
That carries on to this day, and I'm one of them. So you said you haven't read the books, but you've seen other Sherlock things.
I've seen a lot of Sherlock properties.
Yep.
I've heard a lot of talk about Sherlock properties because Tumblr is also obsessed with Sherlock.
Yep.
And so has multiple theories and headcanons about it. The various iterations, whether we're talking Benedict Cumberbatch and the BBC version, or this version, the Guy Ritchie films.
Yep.
So, and also there is meant to be a third one coming. It's currently in pre-production, so no telling how long that's going to be. But when the time comes, we will cover it.
I'm sure that it will happen at some point because no one wants to write any new properties.
Okay,
They only want to carry on existing franchises in Hollywood these days, but
that's a different conversation, though.
it is.
That's a whole different rant,
which we're not qualified to have.
Oh, I'm qualified.
Okay, sure.
I am not in a place where I want to talk about that. I don't think that's what this space is for.
No,
I don't think this is what this conversation is for.
No, you're very qualified, though, to talk steampunk.
Yes.
And why is this movie considered steampunk?
Okay,
Dana?
well, first of all, we're in the right era. Like I said, I've not read the books. I don't know what year Sherlock was meant to be doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was mentioned in the stories at all.
I'm not really sure, but it's definitely in the time period.
Well,
this movie, I can tell you a pretty good idea of when it is set, though.
Oh, I'm so curious because I also have a theory as when is this set. You tell me what your theory is.
Okay, my theory is based on real life events
Same.
that are presented in the film early on. The building of Tower Bridge in London,
Okay.
which construction started in 1886
Okay.
and finished in 1894.
Okay, I am 1,000% with you. Now, I have a different set of circumstances
Oh, really?
that also put me thinking this is around 1886.
Okay.
So the dog is called Gladstone.
Oh,
and
my
I knew that
goodness.
Gladstone was the name of the prime minister who served during 1886.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good job, us.
Yeah.
I kind of love this.
And good job by the writers of putting in multiple details
Yeah.
that point to the same thing.
I have to say, there's so much about this movie I really love. And honestly, like, I think the last time I saw it was around 2009. It's been a very long time since I saw it. Like, we were early married.
Mm-hmm.
We had not been married for very long. I remember, I think we watched this like in our first apartment together.
I am holding in my hand
The DVD,
the Blu-ray,
the physical copy,
the physical Blu-ray disc, which we tried to actually watch this, but unfortunately we had technical difficulties that caused us to have to watch it on digital format. But we do own the disc. I'm holding it here, and we've watched it before.
Back in the day when you could still own things.
Yeah.
When like you could give money over and own a thing instead of a corporation being like, you can borrow it for a while.
Until we decide you can't anymore.
I've
at
been
some
burned
point.
by this and I am bitter and I am not letting go.
But anyway, back to this movie and how steampunk it is.
Yeah.
It's set, in that Victorian era in
Yeah.
London.
And we have the kind of steam level technology and early chemistry, all of these like really fun, experimental kind of things. Honestly, this film has so many things I love in it.
That little tugboat that they ride in the
Little steamship.
Yeah, it's a little steamboat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coal-fired, steam-powered ship.
Yeah. So no, this has like multiple steampunky things that just like, it just rubs me the right way. Like I love it so much. I love like so many little details in this. It's just like, it just makes me so happy.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
this was such a joy to watch again.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah. I found it quite enjoyable. Had a lot of good momentum to it. There weren't really any like dead spots or anything.
Yeah, no. And honestly, this film does such a good job of opening and media race, which means in the middle of things. Like Sherlock and Watson are already like longtime friends. They already have this well-established relationship. They're in the middle of a case. They're just kind of wrapping up a case, kind of, but not really. And like there's action immediately.
Yeah.
It's such a fun film.
Yeah, I was going to maybe bring this up later, but we can talk about it now, is that I feel like it was laid out sort of episodically. Because
the film?
The film.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, because the written stories were all like short stories.
Okay.
None of them were like booked length.
Sure.
Maybe like 10 to 30 pages like in a book for most of the stories, I would say. And I kind of feel like this movie does give us like little episodes. There's obviously an overall story arc, but we've got the opening scene, sort of wrapping up a case. And then we have the thing with Rachel McAdams, Irene Adler.
I have thoughts, but carry on.
Also, same. That will be later. The whole thing, just kind of the multiple points at which we see some stuff happen. we see Sherlock make some deductions.
Sure.
And then he explains some stuff to you.
Yeah.
And then we kind of move on to the next stage of things. Because the part where Sherlock monologues and explains to people what was actually happening.
I love it.
It's the classic ending to a Sherlock story.
Yeah.
But because that happens multiple times throughout, I feel like it's multiple episodes that are happening that he's wrapping up each one as we go.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then he wraps up the entire thing at the very end.
Yeah.
But each of those points gives us like a mini story arc leading up to it. You got the thing with the chemist guy.
Yeah.
The red-haired short person that...
I have notes on that too, which again, we will get to.
Okay.
Dwarf is the word you're looking for.
Right. Maybe they were trying to be period accurate with the terms they use.
Okay.
Maybe,
I have notes on that, but we'll get to it.
Just Guy Ritchie was being insensitive. Not sure which way to go with that.
I have notes, but like I said, we'll get to it.
I don't think cultural sensitivity is Guy Ritchie's bag, really. Maybe again is him trying to be period accurate.
Okay, if we're going to talk about this, then like let me just say, it was a weird gag because like Jude Law keeps saying the word dwarf, and then Sherlock keeps coming in with the word midget, but he also uses the term of foreshortened persons, which does sound like a more sensitive term, but he like only comes in with that once in the beginning, and then like we never hear of it again. And like, I don't know what this commentary was supposed to be. Like, I do feel like maybe he was trying to make some point about like, by being so sensitive, we're like undermining marginalized people. I don't know. It was a weird point to make. It was a weird gag, and I don't know if it landed.
It may have just been trying to paint Sherlock as insensitive or...
But he's not insensitive for the sake of being insensitive. He's not like a frat bro who's like, oh, it's funny.
No. I do feel like with this portrayal, they sort of straddle the line between him being like so smart and up in his head that he is unaware of his social faux pas, right?
I mean, that's always been the case with Sherlock.
Right.
He doesn't know he's so abrasive.
But also, in some ways, it does feel like he does it on purpose, especially to Watson.
His relationship with Watson. Sorry, I'm drinking. His relationship with Watson is magic.
No, it is great.
Oh my gosh. I love their relationship so much. And I feel like that has to be taken all by itself. Like you can't compare his relationship with Watson to anything else.
I think that's fair. But it does make it a little bit complicated. The fact that he seems to be very aware of his dynamic with Watson while also being supposedly unaware of how he comes across to everybody else, to the point where, but it's not to the point of like the BBC series Sherlock, where he is like so aloof and such an a-hole and just rude to everyone. It's not that level. It's like a level below that. As you blow into the microphone.
Sorry, I know this is going to be so annoying. You're probably going to have to edit that out. Oh boy. I feel like there's a lot of asterisks behind that sentence.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting space it lives in, but you're right. I really like the dynamic between Holmes and Watson in this.
It's so catty.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I love it so much. Like, okay, so you have to understand, a lot of Tumblr is like they're secretly lovers or like they're secretly hot for each other. Like,
sure.
So much of Tumblr is on that train.
Yes.
Like we have shipped them and that ship has sailed.
Because we can't have bros just be friends and be really close friends.
Here's
and
the thing.
Be all of it.
Here's the thing. Like, I'm not going to try to address the Holmes and Watson relationship in the BBC Sherlock because that is a different entity.
Yeah.
It's a whole different dynamic. And we could spend hours parsing these two versions of Sherlock. We don't have the time.
No.
However, I don't see Watson attracted to Sherlock in that way. However, I see Sherlock as not knowing how to cope without Watson. Like, not necessarily in a romantic way, but very much in like a you're the only family I have kind of way.
Mhm.
Like, you're my brother and you're getting married and I don't know how to cope with this enormous change in my life. So I'm going to try to manipulate you.
Oh yeah, no, he is a little bit sneaky, but not too sneaky.
Oh, he's not subtle.
No, he's
Watson
not.
knows what he's doing.
Yeah, like getting the horoscope reader lady to try and tell him that his marriage is going to end terribly.
Oh, her name is Mary, isn't it? And she's gonna have warts, and she's gonna get fat. Which, God forbid, a woman put on weight.
Tell him about the warts. How many warts?
Expensive.
Yeah. Well, there's a quote, and this is actually from the book too. I'm not going to get it exactly right, but he's like, I have grown accustomed to having someone on whom I can completely rely.
That's in the movie.
Right. Yeah, he says that. So you're right. Yes, he is very used to having Watson around, and Watson is part of his coping mechanisms with the world around him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he gets lost in his drug-fueled binges of dubious science experiments locked in his room for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Which I wrote down, he was only locked up for 2 weeks. He had it easy.
I mean, to be fair, we've been through COVID. That doesn't count.
Exactly.
That's an exception. That was like a certain time. Which
It's the part of the movie that ages the worst after 2020. That 2 weeks is a long time to be stuck indoors.
Right, you haven't gone outside in 2 weeks. I laugh at you, sir.
Right.
Yeah.
But yes, but Watson kind of helps him snap out of it and reconnect him to well, sort of.
Allow me to correct some of that wording.
Okay.
Sherlock does drugs. Don't do drugs, kids.
Oh yeah.
Sherlock does drugs. And Watson has 0 F's to give.
Oh yeah.
He is like the younger / older sibling, depending on how you want to paint it. That's like, oh, what a wonderful day when you're like really badly hungover. Let me just open up these windows so you can get some sunlight.
Yeah. I think I like that this version of Watson is a little more catty and sarcastic than the written version.
Love it so much. You don't even know.
The written version is very much more reserved than this version. And I feel like Jude Law does a really good job, though, of putting just a touch in there.
I actually had that thought, too, because I go very hot and cold on Jude Law.
Same.
There were things that I see him in, and I'm like, this is really great. And then there are other things I'm like, please just stop. Get off the screen. I can't stand you. But I am 1,000% here for Jude Law as Watson.
Yeah, he's a good supporting guy.
Mm-hmm.
He has that British buttoned upness to him, but he does the little bits of cattiness.
I love it so much.
There was something at the very beginning that I wrote down that was he gets away really well with calling Sherlock old boy.
Oh, I didn't even think about that, but I do love that term.
They call each other that at different points.
Yeah.
But I'm like, for some reason, Jude Law strikes the right tone for that phrase, and his referring to Sherlock that way. I don't know that every actor could do.
No, it's such a unique phrase that you have to be of a certain class, of a certain upbringing, of a certain accent to really pull off.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good.
Yeah, and it's at this point in the story, like you said, they've been friends and working together for a while, that they've become military comrades to Watson. And that's his background. That's what he was in the military.
Yeah.
He was in the war. And so he has come to know Sherlock in that way. And so he does put up with a whole lot from Sherlock.
I know. Hey, can we talk about the cast?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
While we're there.
I have so many notes on the cast. So, first of all, Mark Strong.
Oh, great.
Famous in this podcast because he was also in, do you remember?
He was
Septimus in Stardust.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, good old Mark Strong. He's so good.
Yeah.
I really love him. But
he's got perfect villain vibes.
Oh, he's just, I don't know what, but he's not always a villain. Because he's also, we haven't discovered in this podcast, but he was Merlin in, what was that stupid movie? I didn't really like it.
A stupid
Kingsman.
movie. Oh, okay. Yeah.
He was Merlin in that, and I really loved him in that. And I loved him as Septimus in Stardust.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. He's just so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I adore him. But on the flip side of that, I don't know why. This probably isn't fair.
Okay.
So like, and feel free to come at me. I'm willing to discuss it. I am open to.
I don't know. I might agree with you. Go ahead.
This is going to be really interesting. I'm open to correction on this, but like, I'm not the biggest fan of Rachel McAdams. Now, I want to say,
I had a feeling this is what was going to happen.
I want to say, okay.
I'm glad you said it first.
Okay. I want to say, I don't want to conflate her as an actor with the Irene Adler character, who I will say, I think she got done dirty. I think Irene Adler deserves better, and I don't think that this film gave her what she deserved.
It's the worst part of this movie.
She's so smart. She's so clever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she is the one who could outsmart Sherlock. And she's a bit of a damsel in this.
I wrote that down as well. Yeah, they turned her into a damsel in distress in multiple scenarios. They made her a pawn to Moriarty, where he got one over on her and got her in over her head. And Sherlock had to save the day. And it's because Sherlock is her weak spot. Like, yeah, they really didn't do that character justice.
She got done real dirty in this, and I don't like it. Like, I'm not gonna bang on about it. Suffice to say, Irene Adler deserves better, and Guy Ritchie did not give that to her. As for Rachel McAdams, for whatever reason, she's just like always kind of rubbed me the wrong way as an actor. I don't know why, especially since a reader of mine actually did a Dreamcast of my Broken Gears characters and cast her as Fetch.
Okay.
So I feel a little bad saying that with that knowledge, but she's just always I don't know what it is.
I definitely don't think that she brings the right level of like confidence and force to this character. The character of Irene Adler that I'm thinking of from the books and from other depictions of Sherlock. So maybe it's her. I don't think that she herself like projects that strongly in really anything I've seen her in. So I don't think she's the best choice for the character. But as written for this movie, maybe is fine because the character in this movie is so watered down and doesn't really get to do much and doesn't get to be independent and smart. She kind of just has things happen to her.
Yeah. And honestly, like, I'm rar things. I actually would have switched her and Mary's part. I forget the name of the woman who plays Mary in this, except for Carolyn Bingley. Because she was Carolyn Bingley in Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, no, I thought she was good.
I think she would have made a much better Irene Adler because she's kind of got that sharpness about her.
And I was okay with how they did her character. She didn't have a lot of screen time, but they didn't make her like a wet blanket or a killjoy to be like she was wedging herself between the two boys.
Yeah.
It's really more Watson trying to make himself grow up and be more of like a family man. And he is torn between like the two worlds. It's not her trying to tear him away from it.
Yeah.
But she's also not completely like, oh yeah, Sherlock is great and the best.
I actually thought she was a little bit more powerful as a character than Rachel McAdams, Irene Adler. Like Irene Adler, like her depiction is obviously intelligent, but she just like, there was a certain like something missing, I feel like, from her depiction of Irene Adler.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't know. I couldn't like, and I know that we said we're not going to compare to other properties because they're all they're all independent of one another.
It's almost impossible to not do.
I don't know the name of the person who played Irene Adler in the BBC Sherlock version, but like she could like mentally break me in half without me even noticing. And I just feel like Rachel McAdams doesn't have whatever that is about her, at least in this depiction. Like maybe she's played other roles in other things where she does have that, but it just didn't work for me here.
No, I agree. I don't think she has the physical screen presence to pull it off like that actress from the BBC series who definitely did it well. After seeing the BBC series, seeing this portrayal of Irene Adler just completely falls short. So yeah. 100% agree. I kind of thought that's where you were going when you wanted to talk about the cast, but I'm glad you said it first.
I'm not trying to like throw any hate or shade on her. It just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Speaking of casting,
Sure.
so the guy who played Dredger, which by the way is such a good name.
Yeah, it's a good heavy name.
Dredger. So I looked it up. He's a former wrestler, like a WWE wrestler.
Okay, makes sense.
From Canada.
Cool.
Yeah. I forget his name immediately. It was something French. But like he was also just like a really good like body on the screen.
Yeah.
Of like he's a big thug, but what I liked about him is he's not just like totally stupid. Like he looked at the setup of this ship that's like moored and still being built and was smart enough to figure out like how everything kind of worked in tandem to keep it moored where it was and then messed it up. And also like the hammer gag is very good.
Oh, yeah.
Where like he's got that enormous hammer, like
which Sherlock tries to pick up first but can't.
Yeah. And then he pulls up the little one and he's like comparing the size, like and just throws it. Yeah. That was a very good gag. I really liked it.
Yeah, really good gag. Speaking of I pulled a gag on myself by accident.
Oh?
Speaking of Rachel McAdams, I was thinking, oh man, like I wish they had gotten like a British person to play her character at least so that she would have the accent that would match. Cause I was like, where is she from anyway? So I looked her up and I was like, oh, she's from London, Ontario.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't know that. That's very funny.
Well, now you do.
Also, was she American in the books or like in the stories?
No.
Okay. Yeah. That feels a little bit like Rachel McAdams couldn't pull off an English accent. So they were like, we'll make her from Jersey, like Einstein. Right. Even though Einstein wasn't originally from Jersey, but there we are.
Yep.
So, yeah. But no, they were like, there's so many things in this that is just, it's so good. It's so steampunk. Like so many just like little things that just like made this film for me. It's such a fun jaunt. And like, honestly, like I said, it's been a very long time
Speaking
since I
of
saw it.
steampunk things,
yeah,
there's a handful of little contraptions and things.
Oh, there's gobs of them.
Like in the science lab, there was that cattle prod.
Yeah,
which I think it makes it more steampunk that it was not realistic.
Yeah,
in how it works.
Well, I like that it's not super high powered. Where like
it threw someone across the room.
But it needs
That's not how electricity works.
It needs a charge every time. Look,
electricity doesn't knock you 30 feet at the speed of light.
Okay, here's the thing about writing steampunk contraptions, okay? It can be overpowered, but only very temporarily. And then it needs a recharge. And I kind of love that they did that.
Yeah, no, I mean, they built in a way for it not to be OP, which is good.
Like, if you've ever, any of our listeners, if you've ever played any of the Fable 2, specifically Fable 2, because Fable 1 is fine. Fable 3, whatever. Fable 2, I feel, was the best. And there are contraptions in there that are really, really effective, but only for about 6 rounds. Yeah. And like, that's the kind of like balance that I love in something like this.
And then at the end, we get, the pièce de résistance of contraptions.
Oh my gosh, yes.
All the copper and all the tubing.
Yeah.
And there was a remote control.
Right.
Which is like the technology of the future that is unveiled at the very end that Moriarty is after.
Yeah.
Played by Jared Harris, not appearing on screen, but we hear his voice.
Just wait till next month, y'all.
Yeah. A classic British actor who is great in everything.
1,000%. Totally agree.
But just the crazy mechanized contraption that is the final thing that the end boss is trying to use to take over Parliament.
But I love that it's like this overwrought, incredibly complicated scheme where like nothing can go wrong, but there's like hubris is their downfall because like surely we've tied up every loose end.
Well, he's very theatrical.
Oh, he is though. I love it.
So theatrical.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you,
go on.
Is this a heavy, like, I'm sure it was a big thing in the Victorian era of all of this like fake spiritualism.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Dana's face just completely lit up, people.
Okay. I have to say, I am not the best person to talk about this. Ask Leanna Renee Hebert. She's another author and she's brilliant. She has like such a knowledge about this. Like ghosts are her wheelhouse. Ghosts and the supernatural. She wrote a really great book called Invisible Women, A History of Female Ghosts in America. It's a great book. Go check it out. But yes, oh my gosh, the Victorians were kind of obsessed. And there was just like a lot of superstition around it, like a lot of like Christian superstition, even where I don't have all the information on this, but there was sort of a general idea that like a lot of Civil War soldiers could not rest because apparently there was some kind of belief where if like your body was not whole when it was buried, it like your spirit could not rest. I don't know where this is supposed to come from. It doesn't seem biblical to me from like my limited stint as a believing Christian, which honestly in my life did not last super long. But like it feels like one of those things where, okay, this is very much people getting creative with their beliefs.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like, oh my, there's so much spiritualism. Also look up the Fox sisters. They ran a racket for years. It was incredible. Yes, very much so.
Yeah, I really like how the story is told in that it's the villain trying to use all of this spiritualism and mysticism to scare people and control people. But in the end, there's a scientific explanation for everything.
I really like that too.
It's like a magic trick.
Yeah.
So huge fan of that. I really like how they wove that all in. And like I said, the very end, Sherlock has the explanation for everything because he picked up all the clues from his knowledge of all of these obscure things from different countries and what different things taste and smell like a adhesive from the ancient Egyptians made of eggs and honey that he could taste and know. Yeah. Just fantastic.
Honestly, I feel like that is very much at the core of writing a mystery is like a bunch of random knowledge that you can then bring in and be like, "Mwaha, clever." Because like I've written a mystery or three in my day, and a lot of the inspiration comes from like random stuff you find in researching.
Right.
I will also say, okay, I want to word this properly because the person who makes a thing popular is not necessarily the person who actually began that thing. But going back to our previous episode on The Bluest Eye, I think is what the film was called.
Pale Blue Eye.
The Pale Blue Eye. That's the one.
Yeah.
That was Poe.
Right.
And Poe is credited with popularizing the detective novel. And then we also had Mary at the restaurant talking about how she loves mystery novels, and she has Poe and also what is it? Wilkie. I forget the person's first name, but so Poe and Wilkie, like on her bedside table or whatever. She's got all these detective novels, and then of course we have Sherlock, who is the main detective in a detective novel. The dramatic reveal is a trope that has like become such a thing because of like the popularization of the detective novel. Yeah. That's why we have the way it is now, which I kind of feel like is this cyclical thing in this film where like it was popularized in these books. And then of course we have to include it in the film. It's just like a whole thing. It all just felt a little bit meta for a second, which I actually really like.
I mean, the Sherlock stories themselves sort of get meta.
Yeah.
With the fact that they are written by Watson, and we have reference in the books and this movie of him keeping his notes.
Oh, that's true. The journals.
All the journals, yeah.
Yeah, the steamer trunk full of them.
Yeah. So like the storyteller is telling the story of how he learned all the stories and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very much like a Sherlock thing to try and show how he's an expert in all these little details. It happens a lot more in the written books. It's not all at once, but like each of the stories, there might be like during a dead time, it's like Watson walks in and he's like, "Oh yeah, I was just like tasting all of these 137 different flavors of cigar ash to see what they smelled or tasted like."
Honestly, I feel like Sherlock's encyclopedic knowledge of the way random stuff smells and tastes is like the least believable part, because, or at least the part that like does make it feel like Sherlock is just on a different level than the rest of us. Because like honestly, who would do that?
It's developed more in the books, because you see bits and pieces of him doing it. It's really him like putting in the work behind what seems like a parlor or magic trick to other people where he can just look at somebody or smell something. But it's like, no, it's not because he's a genius. Really, it's because he has like grinded so hard at the day-to-day work to become a really good detective.
And honestly, you don't put in your 10,000 hours, you don't get to be an expert.
No, even though 10,000 was a made-up number.
I know it is. It sounded really good.
No, right?
I know.
I mean, Malcolm Gladwell sold a bunch of books off of it.
Oh boy, yeah. That's kind of like what made his career in a way.
Yeah. But no, it's because he put the work in.
Yeah.
Whereas the BBC version kind of just makes it out to be that he's just like an autistic genius.
And I didn't say that earlier, but like that was in my head as far as like kind of what makes that Sherlock. Like he, and I have so many issues with the way that autistic persons are treated in media, but that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, like
which we're not qualified to have.
No, I do feel like the BBC Sherlock, they never say he's autistic, but I'm pretty sure he's autistic. And I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, definitely on the spectrum. Like I think they portray him as if, oh, he like skimmed it in a book once and so it's stuck in his brain, never forgot it because it's perfect memory.
He has like an eidetic memory.
Right, but this is a more grounded Sherlock that like he put the work in.
Yeah.
You know, he studied all of these things. He loves the craft of being a detective so much that he devotes all of his time to it when he's not on a drug binge.
Yeah, you know.
And I think that this was a way in which Guy Ritchie directing these movies was a good choice because he does that like grounded and gritty real world realism while also making it look cool.
I will say I loved all the depictions of 19th century London because I do think that there are a lot of period films because it's expensive to make a period piece of anything, whether it's a film or a series. Like the clothes, the scenery, everything. It's just very, very expensive. Yeah. Honestly, it's cheaper to animate something like that than it is to do like what this film did. But like they really went for it. Like you have like the dirty streets, you've got cobbled streets, you've got cabs and horses, you got all of these different construction projects happening.
Yeah.
Like where Tower Bridge is sort of in the middle of being constructed. Like I love all of that. Like it was very immersive for this film.
Yeah.
I love like, and you see smokestacks, like it's gritty, but not in that like annoying gritty way that people are like, I'm so edgy. Sorry, that's a different conversation. Sorry, no, I got issues.
Right. No, but this is like classic Guy Ritchie, you know, like he like Snatch or The Gentleman. Like that's his thing is to kind of like get into the muck there, but also show like stuff being done cool in those settings. And I feel like the one thing that they kind of did make this Sherlock a little bit not supernatural, but like a bit OP was in the fight scenes.
I actually like that. I have a note about that.
Where he could predict all of everyone's moves.
No.
To do the perfect move himself. Or it's a little bit over the top, but not too much, I don't think. I don't think it was too much, but that was the one little bit over the top part where the other stuff, like the encyclopedic knowledge, could be stuff that you learned. This is more just his innate ability to read people and read situations.
I will say, I noticed 2 instances where we had that. And I personally really like it as a device because I don't think it was overdone. Like, he only does it in situations where he has a moment to kind of set it up for himself. So it was in the very beginning when they're kind of in like the catacombs or whatever they were.
Yeah.
Where like he sees the guy, but the guy doesn't see him yet. So he like plans it out. And then when he is in the boxing ring and he's like, okay, here's what I'm going to do because I need this fight to end. And that's it. I think that's the only time it happens. Otherwise, he's having to just wing it.
Yeah.
Like when he's in the fight with Dredger and stuff. So I don't think it was OP really. Like it's really only under very specific circumstances that he does this.
Yeah, no, if they overdid it, it would have gotten old, maybe like the TV series. But anyway, enough about that.
Complete side note, if you are into this, like if this is the sort of thing you enjoy, there is a podcast by the name of Fox and Stallion, which basically they're like over the road neighbors of Sherlock and Watson, and it's very good. Same like vibes, just like a lot more swearing. There's so much more bad language, but like it's really good. And so if you enjoy that, check that out. They don't pay me or anything. I recently discovered it and it was delightful.
Just a few random final notes that I have.
Go on.
I noticed some more quotes from the books. The part about when Watson comes in and pulls all the curtains open and he's like, you need a case. And Holmes is like, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, my brain needs stimulation, basically. He says, give me work.
Mm-hmm.
And like that little bit of speaking was from the books. Him playing the violin badly is from the books.
Mm-hmm. I knew about that.
I really liked that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little different from the books, the Holmes and Watson dynamic, because in this, they're a lot more contentious and catty with each other, but it is fun.
I think it's done in a way, though, where I don't think it's acrimonious. I think it is very much out of like a sibling kind of love.
Yeah.
Like I could see me and my sister like talking like this to one another.
Yeah, no, there's some great back and forth. I didn't write enough quotes down, but they were great.
The thing where he's like sticking his violin bow like in Watson's face, and he's like, "Stop sticking in my face! Well, stop touching the things in your face."
No, it's not. Like, it's not in. It's not in your face. It's in your hand. Yeah, it's in my hand.
It's so perfect.
Oh, they end that one scene, and Sherlock repeats back to him, "You wear a jacket."
It's just, and that's one of those moments like, was this ad lib?
I was just going to say, I want to believe that was ad libbed.
It might have been.
It was so perfect. And it like is a button to the scene and it's great.
Yeah. I just really enjoyed this movie and I forgot how fun it was.
And
honestly,
it was a lot of fun.
I think this is a film that you have to watch more than once. Cause I remember way back when we watched it, however long ago that was, like, I didn't really get it, but now that because I forgot a lot about this film between then and now.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it in a while either.
I remembered the very, very broad strokes of it. So now that I've rewatched it, I'm like, oh, it all makes sense. Okay, okay, cool. So I do recommend if you've not seen this film before, watch it twice.
Yeah, I would agree.
I will also say, and spoilers for if you've not seen A Haunting in Venice, just fast forward 15 to 30 seconds. The mad honey disease was also used in A Haunting in Venice.
Oh.
So if you're gonna write murder, go beyond. First of all, you got to read. You got to read other murder mysteries, and then go beyond what they've done. You'll end up on lists on with the FBI or the NSA or whatever.
Whatever.
But that's the price we pay as writers.
No, it's fine. It'll be fine. It's fine. So, Dana.
Yes.
It's time for us to rate this film.
Fair enough.
First, we're going to rate it on how steampunk it was.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 5 steam engines. How steampunk was Sherlock Holmes?
I'm going to come at you. I'm going to come at you hot and fast.
Okay.
5 of 5.
5 out of 5,
yes.
Huh?
And here's why. I have a whole list. So we have a secret passage in the big mansion.
Oh, I wrote that down. We need a secret passage. We need a secret room.
Obviously.
Okay.
I'm disappointed it hasn't happened yet. Why haven't you gotten me a secret passage for my birthday? Get in the comments, y'all. Tell Mike he owes me a secret passage.
Okay, then.
Obviously, it has to be somehow concealed with a bookshelf. Obviously.
Duh.
Yeah. Telescoping spyglass, cyanide gas device, Lucy the steamship. Did you see she was called Lucy? Because a lady is owed a name. Mechanized threats, tripwires, gas fires. We also have I already said the telescoping spyglass.
We had the geared thing with the pig saw thing.
Yeah, that's the mechanized threats.
Yeah.
So secret societies, so.
I didn't even talk about the secret society. Yeah,
I know. Love a secret society. Honestly, there are a lot of steampunky things in this, but I feel like they are kind of doled out little by little. But there are a lot of them. Moriarty's gun. They talked about how it was it's a clever contraption.
Oh yeah,
there are so many little devices, the little cattle prod thing. Also counts.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, this is not a movie that hits you in the face.
Yeah.
With this is a steampunk movie. It approaches it from this is a detective story, but there's so much steampunk in it, but it's not covered in gears and steel and copper. It's all just like part of the world.
Honestly, this is a little bit the kind of steampunk that I really enjoy writing. So like my late dad was a engineer, and I would call him and be like, Dad, is this like possible? Like if it had a foot in reality,
right,
it was good. Like I never tried to be too overt. And I think that's part of the reason why I love this so much, is because like it's subtle, but like there's a foot in reality. Okay.
Yeah. I will not fight you on that rating.
No,
5 out of 5. Yeah, let's do that.
Mhm.
And I think this part might be a formality as well. We also rate the films on how much we enjoyed them. Just like how much fun was it, or how much did we like it? Dana, on a scale of 1 to 5 gears, what's your rating for Sherlock Holmes?
I have to say, I'm only going to give it a 4.5.
Okay.
Because the whole thing with Sherlock and Irene Adler, it really bothers me for so many reasons. Like it's problematic. Like we have some weird consent issues. Like I want to rewrite that whole dynamic.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm 1,000% in. Like that's the only part that I was like, please, can we just move on, please?
You know, yeah. My rating is also going to be on a scale of 1 to 5. Top hat's 4.5. So
okay,
yeah, great, a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
The Irene Adler part they didn't get right.
Mm-hmm.
I was tempted to drop it all the way to 4, but I think 4.5 is good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good movie.
Oh, I didn't even mention like the glass super needle as far as steampunk gadgets. Like, no, it's not steam powered, but it's the kind of thing that falls in that category where like we kind of take an idea and we're like, yeah. Let's just push that envelope a little bit. I love it.
Yeah. A lot of cool little details. Bunch of stuff we didn't even mention.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, watch the movie. And if you want to be ready for listening to next month's episode, watch the sequel.
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows. So that's your preview for next month.
So
that's your
excited.
homework. Watch that. We're going to come back and watch that ourselves and talk about it. So yeah, if you want to get in on the conversation with us, you can hit us up on Twitter at SteamPoweredPod. You can talk to us on Instagram or Threads at SteamPoweredMovies. You can go to steampoweredmovies.com. You can hit the Discord link in the description of this podcast and let us know your thoughts. Recommend movies. Tell us what you think. Say hi. We'd love to chat with you. And that's all we have for this time. Join us next month. Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone. The game is foot.